Hi, Tab. I have been thinking about how to tackle this reading, which is a little convoluted. So, what I thought I'd do was try two smaller readings, so to speak, or we'll try to get two in this 15 minutes, because I think one is about the situation with the spell caster, and whether or not that was cast. And the second is about whether or not your desires that you wanted, what you wanted to happen, has been put in motion. So I actually think we're going to do the second one first. We're going to see what your I don't know what to call it. What your desire, because I don't know what it is. So let's just say, we'll just call it desires, right, for to this purpose. And we're going to ask, what is happening with Tabitha's desires in the next 6 months? Okay? Thank you, Goddess. Right. So this is you. Oh, this is your desire. This is the foundation. This is the near future. And this is the outcome. So this is, first of all, this is very difficult for me to interpret simply because I don't know what it is. So it's quite hard to contextualize things. So I'll just tell you what I see in front of me. That's all I'm doing. I'm not, making anything up here. Just giving it a go. You are poison, right? I don't mean you're poison. I mean, that represents you. Now, I think we covered this before in a different reading. That is about bad habits, negative thinking. That's you in this instance. Your desire is broken glass. So this again is slightly more aggressive than this. Like, this is more sort of in your head, bad habits, negative thinking. This one here is, so your desires are about, I don't know if it's hexing or breaking someone up. I don't know. I obviously don't know what it is. So I'd be pulling things out of my arse if I was trying to figure that out. But what it is quite violent, and it's quite negative. Your desire is quite negative. So when I say things like, as opposed to I would like to, I'd like you to cast a love spell, a binding spell between me and someone, it might be more of the effect of, and I'm just using this as an example, that your desire might be that you want to break someone else up. You know what I mean? Like, I want to break up another couple or whatever. I want to hex someone who is mean to me. I'm not passing judgment on any of these things at all. It's just that it would indicate that what your desire is something that, even if it isn't perhaps explicit that that's what the desire is, like maybe you want a binding spell with someone, but maybe you don't realize quite what that entails. Like what you've been asking for is quite destructive. That's probably a word in some way or other. But what's in between you, so this is a skull, right? This is not a bad thing. This is a transformational thing. So skulls are about death and rebirth. So it is about starting fresh. The foundation is to start again. Death and rebirth is the cycle of life. And the perfect analogy is a great one from Joseph Campbell. He says, when you're, as a rite of passage, for the man to be born, the boy must die. So for the same, for the woman to be born, the child must die. For the enlightened person, the ignorant would die. You know what I'm trying to say? Like something is built on something ending so something can begin, right? And this would indicate that is not necessarily an easy thing to end, right? And I don't know if it involves someone else or whatever. It's quite difficult to contextualize it without knowing what it is. But there we go. That's what the cards are saying here. The second, so coming up again is, well, this is quite good. So you've got death and rebirth, followed by a bloom, so a blossom, and a rose is a wonderful bloom. So that's something that's in growth, right? So it's something that is growing, but it's prickly and it's thorny, and it's not, you can't just, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. Even though roses aren't particularly hard, they're prickly, and they're thorny. So you have to be careful with them. But they are, of course, also very rewarding. So I would just say coming up in the near future, in the next 6 months, what you have is something that's growing, but it is, it's prickly. So be careful. There's a bit of caution with it. And lastly, we have the owl, and the owl is, about, well, you can imagine it can be about wisdom, it can be about knowledge, it can be about learning, it can be about teaching, it can be about mentorship from either side, like, to bring something with you, or so you should share what you know, or to have someone share what they know with you. So it's a learning kind of card. And it's usually something quite higher than you, like it's quite a step up that you're sharing, or it's something that is, see this hand of Fatima. So it's a protection thing. It's a good thing to learn. That's what I'm saying. So it's not, I don't know. It's not like how to learn to be a pickpocket or something. It's good. They're lessons that you need to learn, or lessons that you need to teach, right? But it is quite a solitary card. So again, without really knowing what it is. So we've got sort of some negative thinking and just bad habits that just do you no favors, basically. And what you're wanting being something quite destructive, and destructive doesn't all necessarily mean evil. It just means that it's chaotic, or it's messy. It's not something tidy, right? But the foundation of that is transformation, a death and rebirth. Following that is coming up for you in this area is the rose, which is again being thriving and something growing, and the outcome is wisdom. Whether you are gaining it or sharing it, but it's quite solitary. So it might be something that in all that's going on will be something either for you to share or for you to learn. It's your lesson. I'm just going to do one more pass, see what we've got for time. Sorry, my little selenite is right in the way of the time. Okay. We'll do a very quick pass again with this. Okay, so we've got a snake. Tabitha, it is really time to do some work on yourself, darling. Really, really. Look at this. What's between you? Like, what's the foundation, the coming up, and the outcome are all really good, but you are really tangled up. You've got messy bad habits, and the snake is all about being tangled up, and being all tied up in knots and quite upset. This is not a very good place that you're in right now. And in regards to what's happening, so you've got this anger, so it's quite stubborn. This maybe that's why it takes such a sort of a destructive or an aggressive sort of way to move this anchor, like maybe because remember, this is the spell, this is the magic or the intent or whatever, your desire is quite stuck, and maybe that's why it's going to take a bit of quite a bit. You're going to break, we're going to have to break a few eggs. That's the saying, isn't it? You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet or whatever, you're going to have to break stuff because it's quite stubborn. Right. The heart, beautiful, true passion. That's the basis of this, is a transformation into something that is really true and passionate and a good heart and a good place, right? Coming up is, it's prickly and it's difficult, but you already know what to do. So this card, this mystic card, although it's a mystic woman and what have you, it's actually really about your intuition and your knowing the answers in this. So you see there's a no and a yes here. I don't know if you can see, there's a no and a yes and a heart, a beating heart. So you know in your heart what to do. So this is not a head thing. So there's another one that's like a crown, a card that's a crown, and that's about thinking up there. This is about following, looking into your heart about what the right thing to do is and letting it flourish. And it's not going to be easy, right? But being it's prickly, it's thorny, but it's still beautiful and it's thriving and it's going to be gorgeous. And that's what life is. It's a bit prickly and thorny to grow sometimes, it's not that easy. And also that there might be a bit of blood involved. And I mean that quite literally. So we've got a broken bottle here and a bit of thorn. So you might, it might actually draw, it might be quite painful, this. And here is this ambitious star. So this is, again, a very successful guiding light. So another way to look at the star is a guiding light, like they followed the star for Jesus, etc. So all of this about symbolism. And a star can guide you. So here we have learning, here we have a wisdom, and here we have a star for guiding. So the outcome of this is there is some guidance coming from you or for you, and you know in your heart what it already is, my dear. Okay. And the last lot. So this is the third of you, so let's just make sure we can see everything. The poisonous snake and now the butterfly. So the butterfly, yes, is pretty and it is social and it's very light on one hand, but it doesn't last very long. So this to me is also hopping from thing to thing, a bit like an attention deficit type thing, right? So, it's like, whoop, I'm over here and whoop, I'm over there, whoop, I'm over there, and that might sort of be reinforcing these things, for sort of bad habits and being all tied up because you're just running away, I would imagine, running in circles. This is what that reminds me of, like flitting around, like, whoop, do hit, hit, so I do, anyway. That's what that represents. This one is a man looking away. So again, I don't really know what your spell is involved, but there is a man and he is not, if it is, he is not looking at this. And I don't know if there's a man involved or how there's a man involved, but he's not looking in at all. So he is looking away. I don't know if it's a source of a problem or whatever. And I really can't explain any more without knowing any more. I'm sorry about that, just other than to tell you that there is a man involved in this spell, whether he's the subject or the whoever or I don't know what, but he is definitely looking outwards and not interested. The death and rebirth and the heart, transformation of a heart, plus what have we got? The world. It's lovely. There's a whole, there's lots, there's good stuff with the world. That's great. That's good, successful. You've got the world in the palm of your hand. There's lots of choices. It's good. Followed by a guiding light. So we've got a candle. There's a light. So you really just need to see the light within yourself. Really, that's what that's saying. You've already got there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You already know the answer. It's a little bit prickly. Bird. So communication. The communication is what you're going to need to learn and for guidance. You need to open up and you need to talk. Although I would say it's actually what I'd look at that and I'd say is you need to talk to someone smarter than yourself. Does that make sense? Like you need to talk to someone. The feeling I get from this is that you need to, you have You know what it is that's the problem, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say problem, that's not quite the right word, but you look within, you know the answer, and it's something that's growing and thriving, and that's what you want. And also, that's the other vibe I'm getting from this, is focus on what you want and not so much on the spell, the subject. Just focus on the process. The process will actually get you to the end, is definitely something that I'm feeling with this. So short and curlies, let's have a go. Try and wrap it up. You've really got to sort out you're not in a good headspace. You're going, I think this is just sort of multiples. You're just going around multiply. This looks like a good idea, I'll try that. No, this looks like a good idea, I'll try that. It's not helping. You're tied up in knots, and it's a bad habit, because what it isn't is resolving anything really. The subject, that this is what you're after. So in this particular thing, we said about the spells. The spells are difficult. There is fighting, there, or breaking up, or some kind of, when I use the term violence, I don't necessarily mean physical violence, although it can. I just mean that it is destructive. You have to take things apart. It's difficult, so it's not going to be done easily. It's not carefully dismantling something. You're going to have to shake things up and tear it apart and break things. And where the man is concerned, whoever that man is, I don't know who he is or what he is, but he's not looking inwards. He does not want to be involved, right? He's not into it for whatever reason. But he's certainly looking away from it. The foundation is rebirth into something true and passionate. Or look at the other way around and say that you are passionate about rebirthing, about trying to do this a new way, and you've got everything in the world there to help you. Like, you've got the whole world as the foundation. It's good, it's great. Coming up in your near future, in regards to your spells, I'm just keep going back to that, so we try to keep it all together. Going back to your spells, it's in growth, so it's blooming. You already know what's going on. It's in your heart. You have to look in your heart for whether it's true or not. And there is a light. All you have to do is illuminate that. So I think what it's trying to say is you can illuminate this, right? You are in control of illuminating this growth, right? So you can see the growth, or you can see what's blooming. And the outcome, you need to talk. So this is about conversations, about talking, it's about communicating, and these two are absolutely about guidance, wisdom, guiding, and communication. So it's time to learn. I think what it's saying is coming up for you is going to be a real opportunity to, and remember, these things don't happen unless you lean into them. I think that's what the new phrase is. But, so a possible outcome is what you're supposed to say, I suppose. But you could really learn something, and I mean, really something important that is going to be very successful, and I think it'll be exciting for you to do so, and that's the owl. So the wisdom, yes, the guiding light, but also ambition and communication, and that's that one, right? So I think the best way to handle the second part, so that's in regards to your desires. So I'm guessing another way to say it is whether or not the spell that you cast, what's happening with the spell that you have asked to be cast, or with the subject that you wanted the casting to be about, right? So that's what's happening with that. Did she do the spell? Is not something that I can possibly get out of those cards, because they don't do yes or no's. But I charged up my pendulum. We'll give it a go. I don't find the pendulum the most reliable, but we'll try. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm happy to try for you. We'll see. I would say it's not. I don't get as good a result from that as I do from other modes. So I'm just going to move all this a little further down to give me a little better of an area for this. And okay. So I'm just charging my little baby up. We need to find out about some magic. Okay. So let me just ask a couple to leave my elbows. Okay. Am I sitting down? Okay. Do I have 3 heads? Okay, I'm pretty comfortable with which is yes and which is no. Okay. So I want to ask, did the witch that Tabitha paid for earlier in the year that lost her phone with the spell on it, did she actually cast the spell? I'm getting a yes. Is the spell that Tabitha wanted cast and got cast by the lady, is it going to work? I don't know if you can see that, Tabitha, if it's big enough for you to see, but that's quite a no. I'm not actually quite sure. I've never recorded it, so I don't quite know how it came out on your end. I'll play it back in a minute, of course, to see, but I'm not here for faking it, so I'm not going to redo it, regardless of whether or not you saw it very well. So the short and curlies was that the when I asked about whether or not the spell was cast, the answer was yes. So yes, the spell was cast. Was it going to work? No, was the answer. Now, I can't remember where I saw or read this, but I did very, very recently, about why some spells from quite, good spellcasters, why they don't work. If I can find that article, I will send it to you. But the very short and curlies, the very short version, if I remember, is that sometimes what you're asking for, the answer from the spirits or from the demons that some of the witches work with, or the powers that they ask, they basically say no. Nope, I'm not going to do it. For whatever reasons, perhaps they are I don't know. I'm not, because it's not my area. I don't want to sort of go into whys, because that's really probably much more technical or different type of question for probably for a witch to answer. And if I'd be saying anything about that, I'd just be repeating things that I've read and not stuff that I've really learned that much about. So I won't say much more, other than I did read somewhere that quite recently, actually, that was on a forum, I think, where witches were talking about the problems they have sometimes with their clients, and that is sometimes the demons or the spirits or the gods or whoever you want to call it that they work with just say no. They say, nope, what you've asked for is not, we're not willing to give that. There you go. So that's possibly a reason why, but I'm not making it up. I'm just saying it's just one possible reason that I read somewhere not that long ago, but I really don't know, so I'm not going to waffle on, because I don't really know what I'm talking about. So I hope this helped you a little bit in regards to what's coming up. It's interesting that looking at, like, comparing the fact that the pendulum said it didn't work. Yes, it was cast, but no, it didn't work. And then the way that this was laid out for you, those cards, it'll be interesting. I'm going to have a little think. I'll watch the video again. I'll have a little think, and maybe I'll send you a quick email after I post this with some little thoughts about, how it's sort of how they balance up, because I do need to mull it over a little bit, and we're going to go, we're over time already, and don't worry about paying extra or anything. It's only 10 minutes. It's all right. That's just a cup of tea time. So I will have a little think while this is uploading, and I will send you a quick email and let you know how I think we can interpret those two together. But I take this a lot less for granted than I do that. That works for me big time. This, I'm not saying it's hit or miss. I'm just saying it's just not the most reliable way to do things, or to get the answers that you want. But it's not bad. And it was actually quite responsive tonight. So there you go. Anyway, hope all's well, and I will be in contact with you soon. Okay? Bye, love.